أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين. So we always begin seeking refuge with God from the cursed devil who has sworn that he's going to try to mislead all of us. And so now we are in the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful. We're looking through his guidance for the protection and the safety and security of our souls, the Iman as it's called, through following that guidance. And so that guidance was lived by the final messenger and servant of God sent to mankind, Muhammad, the son of Abdullah. May peace and blessings and eternal bliss and the highest level of Jannah be for him. So the famous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said that anytime people gather in one of the houses that were erected for his remembrance and glorification, they get together and they read the Quran and they study it amongst themselves, that the angels will come and they will come and envelop them, and then peace and tranquility will come, and the mercy of God will be established in the account of those people who have come together for this purpose. So there is no better gathering that can happen other than people gathering to study the Holy Quran. Our subject for tonight is: who are the inheritors of heaven? Who will be the ones who will live in the eternal bliss of paradise in the presence of divine, who will have all of their flaws and defects and shortcomings removed from them and washed away from them and forgiven for them? Who are those people? Because definitely we are all looking to be among those people. So there are two ways and structures that this concept of lahum jannat, those are the ones who will have or will possess or inherit eternal paradise and bliss. So who can tell me the two phrases and structures that usually introduce this concept of entering heaven? Comes up a lot in the Quran. You guys are making me feel bad. See, I didn't know we were going through questions. So here's the question. In the Quran, Allah will say something, 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 lahum jannat. Those people who we've just described, they will go to heaven. There are two main qualities, or one has two in it, and the other one is one. Who can tell me one of those?
Humbleness.
Those who believe.
No. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. I thought for sure he can't play the humble. He was playing humble. So the most common one is وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Like it starts in the very beginning on the second or the third page of the Quran. وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ أَنَّ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ. Right? So give the glad tidings to those who have faith or security in their knowledge of God and revelation, and they worked righteousness. They worked soundness and wholeness. عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. So let's break down this one real quick. As we have said before, amanu, according to the scholars, is not something blind. It's not something you just accepted because someone told you. That would not be iman. That would be some cultural beliefs. You understand what I'm talking about? So to just go along with what other people were saying because they said so is not true iman. That's not. So iman dictates a sincere search for knowledge. هَذَا يَوْمُ يَنْفَعُ الصَّادِقِينَ صِدْقُهُمْ. On that day, those genuine, sincere seekers of the truth and attempters of living that lifestyle will be rewarded because of their genuine sincerity for truth. Okay? So that's there, and then you have to find it through the revelation. Because everybody was born with a basic, inherent, innate knowledge of the awareness of the divine and the concept of morality. Everybody's born with that. That's something built into every single person on planet Earth. But that is not what we know. That's the Islam in the lowercase. Meaning, so when we say Islam, there are two meanings. One is the literal linguistic vernacular of to submit to God, to believe God is the creator and I should do what he wants me to do. Right? That's a generality. if you were to ask many Christians or Jews or Sikhs, do you believe that you should do the will of God? You know what they'll say? Yes. So are they Muslims? No. You see what I'm saying? So Islam, or some of the brothers go Al-Islam, so like Al-Islam, with a capital I. This is to confirm and ratify that the Prophet was sent. So for us, it was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Before him, it would have been Jesus and whoever else, prophets and the people who lived in their time. It would be to ratify that Prophet and to seek to follow them and to learn their revelation and live by it in detail. That's Islam in a capital I. So for every time they had a Prophet, that you would need to have that to fulfill the full thing. So the first one is the thing you're born with, the inherent innate. So when people say, I'm not a convert, I'm a revert, I think they're overreaching, with all due respect. Because they're basically saying, you're born knowing about Prophet Muhammad and the Holy Quran and all that, and we all know that's not true. Correct? Is anybody born knowing about the Quran and Prophet Muhammad? Did you ever see a kid, first thing he said, he's born in Netherlands and he's never met a Muslim and he's like, Ashhadu an la ilaha. No. So he's on fitrah, like everybody else, every other kid on planet Earth. Okay? But that's not Islam with a capital I. Right? So Iman is to search for that in the prophets. Okay? With a sincere knowledge, seeking. So then you secure yourself, because Iman comes from Amina, to secure, give safety. So now you're securing your soul because of that sincere desire to confirm or affirm what was already built into you, but through the miraculous prophetic tradition, which proves a detailed model for how to live your life. So now you try to live by it. وَعَمِلُوا. And it doesn't say وَفَعَلُوا. What's the difference between فَعَلُوا and عَمِلُوا? Which one's easier? فَعَلُوا. To do it. I did something. فَعَلُوا. فَعَل. عَمِل. Work. Some sweat coming off your brow. Work. He said, well, worked. وَعَمِلُوا. And they worked. صَالِحًا. Salih, in basic Arabic, means to be wholesome, to be well, to be functioning right. Okay? When your car breaks down, you go to the mechanic or yusallih. Or yuslih is what they usually say. He works to make sure to fix your car so that it works right. See what I'm saying? So what it means is that what you're doing in and of yourself, the action, as well as how that action will be received, is whole and good and beneficial, and making sure things are functioning correctly. So there's two theological, in the Islamic discourse, conditions. I see many of you did not bring notes. So the first one is what? To become amal salih in Sharia Islamiyah. What's the first condition for it to be amal salih? Niyyah, exactly. Your intention is sincere to please only the one and only who it matters to. You're not trying to please people. You're not trying to be a good person in general, because that's what people say is good, or that's what will make me accepted by them. Rather, you are thinking, God created me and blessed me with so much. I should be godly. I should work to please Him, to do something that He's happy with. So that's the first condition. But if you do that by itself, then many of your actions could be messed up. Why? The second condition is al-ittiba'. Al-ittiba', to follow the example of the Prophet. To know that what you are doing is the proper way of working righteousness. Because it is not up to people to invent that. Secular liberalism is basically invalidating the need for prophets. Secular liberalism is God and religion in an organized fashion should not influence the affairs of the state. And in more extreme cases, we need to separate it from our lives because it's some old story and all that. Liberalism, well, whatever makes you feel good about religion, you pick it. And then you have a good heart, and so you're picking what you like. And whatever you don't like or whatever you feel bad about, then you don't do that. Or you're against it and you say that's wrong. So now what you're doing is, you're saying there's no need for these prophets. And what you're doing is, you're saying those prophets who did those miracles that they have done are not good enough for me. Why did they get miracles? to prove to you why you should follow them and take them as an example. Right? Now, in this Amilu Salihat, and you're following the Prophet ﷺ, what does that require from you in following? How do you know? Like this comes all the time. Somebody say, here's a hadith. And you sometimes, mashallah, people send you this WhatsApp thing. Allahu Akbar. Like 30 hadith on there. Nobody knows where these hadith came from. Or what is it, a hadith or what. And they're like, see Rasulullah, and it sounds like good stuff, right? So you can read the Bible, you can read some self-help books, and you can read the Upanishads and the Vedas of the Hindu scriptures, find all kind of beautiful stuff in there. But does that make it revelation? We should be careful on that one, right? So now, how would I know? Let's go to a basic understanding. What are the two references that I can be pretty sure as a believer, and I'm expected to, according to the scholars, take that and know that's the Prophet ﷺ has done that in generality? Bukhari and Muslim. Bukhari, when we talk about the Prophet ﷺ, when you talk about the Quran, there's no question about all of that, and the Prophet ﷺ lived that. But the Quran is a matter of deep interpretation, okay? Particularly when it comes to actions and laws and all that. So, you go to the hadith collections. There are many, many hadith collections. So it's a good idea to just go ahead and get 2 hadith books right now. All of you should master, first and foremost, 40 hadith of Nawawi. Raise your hand if you've heard of 40 hadith of Nawawi. Okay, if you didn't, 40 hadith Nawawi. Guess what? They got the app for it. Free. And it has a commentary. Allahu Akbar, mashallah. English, Arabic, commentary in English. They've got it. It's free. Just download it. Mashallah, I know some good brothers over in Kuwait. I used to work with them. They do all kind of great stuff, and they do it for free. Well, they don't do, they're being paid for their family time. But they don't want to make money. They get paid by some khairiyah, some charitable organization, to do this stuff to make sure you guys can have all kind of stuff for free. MashaAllah. In Arabic and English and French and Chinese and Malayu and Telugu and you know what I'm talking about? I know I got my Indian people here always, MashaAllah. So, now, if it's not Bukhari and Muslim, so the second book, Riyadh al-Salihin. Riyadh al-Salihin. It's very good. Imam Nawawi also wrote that book. Imam Nawawi is an amazing guy. Radiyallahu anhu. Imam Nawawi was basically the defender and the prover of the Shafi'i madhab. And he never got married because he was so dedicated to knowledge. Radiyallahu anhu. He was so dedicated to knowledge. He wrote all kind of books. He wrote many books. But there are 2 books that he wrote that all he was just thinking in his mind, because he had read about a hadith that there's an issue about the authenticity of this hadith, but it sounds good. There are 40 traditions that if we all mastered them, we would have a good comprehensive understanding of the Sharia, of the law of God. When we say law, Sharia, by the way, when we say law, we're not talking about law only in terms of courtroom actions of people. It is the beliefs, it is the worship, it is the legal code, it is the character. All of that is Sharia. Some people think it's only referring to some sort of law. That is fiqh. What you're confusing Sharia with is fiqh. So, Imam Nawawi said, I'm going to gather 40 hadith that I think are the best hadith for every average Muslim to know. And he did it for the average Muslim. Like when we were in Islamic American University, Sheikh Ahmed Shlebek, he said we have to memorize all of these. And there's no way around it. Just like you memorize Juz Amma, you memorize 40 hadith Nawawi. So it's something you should. Now, somebody's like, well, I don't know Arabic. Memorize the translation. Al-Hadith yurwa bil ma'na. The scholars of Hadith, as mentioned in the very beginning of Muqaddimat Ibn Salah on page 40, the famous introduction to the Hadith sciences, he said, اتفق المحدثون أن الحديث يروى بالمعنى. That the scholars of Hadith have agreed that Hadith can be narrated by meaning. As in contrast with the Quran, which is a divine word, it can be only narrated exactly as it was revealed according to ijazah and well-established riwayat. Whereas the hadith, the people who narrate hadith, the great scholars of the Sahaba and other, they narrate hadith in different words. Same hadith. They're saying this is the same hadith, different words, because the point is just the meaning there. So whether it's English, French, or Chinese, as long as the one who is translating that is qualified, then it's hadith. It's being narrated by its meaning. Some people misunderstood that. So now, if I'm looking in Tirmidhi or Abu Dawood or Nasa'i or Ibn Majah, how do I know? How would I know if it's authentic? How do you think you would know? Anybody got any? Now, if you know Arabic, there's a website you can go to called Ad-Durr Saniyya. DORAR.net. The students of Sheikh Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala, they got all the hadiths. I'm saying 80+% of them that have been collected. And they put them in a search engine with the scholarly analysis of the chain of narration. And if there's any questionable debate among scholars about what narrators are in there, and if there's a broken chain, or if someone there is questionable in their memory, or in their knowledge of the Arabic language, or in their character, we put so-and-so's in there, we didn't know him, oh, this is a broken chain, we've never even heard this hadith. Things like that. Fabricated hadith, they will say like that. Then you will know. So if you don't have that, then just send me an email. It will happen like that. It comes like that. Imam, or text me. Imam, this hadith. But you have to bring me the Arabic text, because I don't know how to do that with English. I don't know if that exists. Inshallah, some people do that, mashallah. It would be great. So that's I think we're going a little bit too deep. We need to move faster, inshallah. Is it too academic? Please, always give me feedback. Are we going too academic? Do we need to be more spiritual? Yeah. Okay. It's always good. Keep me straight. I'm enjoying. I love the science of it. Other people are like, I just want to know how to be a good Muslim, go to Jannah, man. What are you bringing me all these books and scholar? How do I even know? I'll never know how to do that. Just tell me what's the right hadith. Okay. Okay. So that is the first thing. So he says, "Tilkumul jannatu uristumuha wanudu." On the day of judgment, the people of heaven, they'll be called out to them. Some said by God Himself, some said by the angels. Tilkumul jannatu uristumuha bima kuntum ta'malun. Or bi rahmatillah bima kuntum ta'malun. Which will clarify the meaning of the hadith if you thought. So it says, this is the paradise that you have inherited because, as a result of what you used to work for. Amilu salihat. But what happened to the hadith that no one goes to heaven by their deeds? You heard that one? Mm-hmm. People get confused by that hadith. Some people actually lose their way. That's people that with the good heart religion. Well, see, you know Allah's mercy is expansive. وَسِعَتْ رَحْمَةُ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. So, I have a good heart, and inshallah His mercy will envelop me, so I don't have to do all this stuff. No. That's not the meaning of the hadith. The meaning of the hadith is, don't be arrogant about your deeds, because you can only do deeds because you've been blessed with consciousness and guidance by your Lord, and then by His blessing, He has chosen to reward you if you choose to follow His will, that He blessed you to know and to do, then you'll go to heaven. So it wasn't your deeds that got you in heaven. It was the system that He created by His mercy for you to go to heaven, and that is by the deeds that you do for His sake, and it's His blessing from A to Z. You get it now? Yeah. So that's what the hadith means. And that's why it's important to go to the scholars about hadiths and ayahs, about what they mean, because some people go around peddling stuff. I've heard it in the Eid khutbah here. Some brother going up there saying stuff, and I'm like, hold on, brother. Where'd you get that from? So, that's the first quality. To have faith that is sincere, found and ratified through knowledge and understanding and a spiritual journey, to know the truth and to be sure about why you should believe and what that means to you. Number one. And then you act accordingly because of that knowledge you have gained in your life. What's the second quality that's always mentioned about who goes to heaven? There's one other quality that is mentioned so many, many times all throughout the Quran. I heard it. Taqwa. وَأُزْلِفَتِ الْجَنَّةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِنَّ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ مَفَازًا. Then it says, many different places it has this. What is taqwa? That's the question. Taqwa comes from the root. Who knows what the root of taqwa is? What's the 3 letters?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's Waw, Qaf, Ya.
Waqi.
Yeah, waqiya, yes. Wiqaya is the masdar. To protect. To protect. To be cautious and therefore to protect. Fear is not part of the whole thing. I don't know where people... You said in all the translations. Fear Allah, brother. What do you mean? Ittaqillah. No, I think there's... Khafillah, I mean, that would make sense. So, what is this protection? What is this all about? Sheikh Abdul Sa'id, Allah yarhamu, my teacher, he explained to me he had read in some old linguistic book about some poem about the term wiqaya. And he said that the word in some way had meant the horseshoe you put on the hoof of the horse or the camel. So the wiqaya is putting that on there because he will go through a journey. And if he does not have that on his feet, he will not be able to complete his journey and get where he's supposed to go because his feet will get all torn up. His hooves will get all messed up. So that's why we put that on there, to protect him from this. So there's an analogy being drawn in said poem that your heart and your soul needs a protective horseshoe type thing in order to make sure that it gets back to its maker in one piece and doesn't get all messed up on the journey between life and death. So what it is, it's a cautiousness, it's a mentality, it's a thought process, it's an attitude inside of you. It's not actually an action. The actions come out and have other definitions in many ways, shapes, and forms. But taqwa is to be thinking, you know what, I have a duty to my Lord and provider and sustainer. I owe him. I should learn what he wants from me. I should do my best to live accordingly. I should do the obligations and I should avoid the prohibitions because he knows what's best for me. I should be mindful of that. Many people translate it as mindful, God consciousness. So that's taqwa. So that's an attitude. So now we'll go into Surah Al-Ra'd, the 13th chapter, the number 19 through 26. He talks about it. أَفَمَنْ يَعْلَمُ أَنَّمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ رَبِّكَ الْحَقُّ كَمَنْ هُوَ أَعْمَى إِنَّمَا يَتَذَكَّرُ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. So he's giving a question, which is basically its intended purpose is to clarify distinctness, the obvious distinctness there should be, and what that's like, to give an example of what it's like. So he says, the one is the one who is knowing that what was revealed to you is from your Lord and it is truthful, like the one who is blind. Then he says, those who will really grasp this concept of revelation and all that are intellectual people. So, هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون? I can tell you as someone who was living in Jahiliyyah, and actually I've met people who were born into Muslim families who were in the Jahiliyyah, meaning they didn't really care about religion. They were just, my family's this, Eid Salah or whatever. At some point they lost their way and all that, and then they saw the truth. And what will happen is the epiphany will come and things will become very clear. You will start to see light from darkness in terms of morality, spirituality, truth and falsehood. The more you study the Quran, the more you look at the Prophet ﷺ's life and what he went through and his priorities and his example, it will start to become clear. And you'll start to take drastic steps. Sometimes people go a little bit far, to be honest. Some people go to extremes. And some people go into super wide conspiracy theories about their understanding of darkness and light. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ warned people about this. And the Quran said this Quran was intended to bring about a nation of balanced, moderate people. That's the nature of it. What does that mean? That means people who the Prophet says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ بِالْحَنِفِيَّةِ السَّمْحَةِ. I was sent with a pure monotheism that's easygoing. People will feel comfortable with you because it won't be overbearing. It won't cause conflict and you won't feel harshness from this proper understanding of the Prophet. That's how everybody loved him. The Prophet ﷺ was very easygoing, very, they say meshi, he wasn't trying to, the iron fist and all that stuff. You see in some places they call them Muslim countries or Sharia or whatever. The Prophet ﷺ, somebody came and said that I did zina. He's like, just go repent, it's okay. That's how he said in the Hadith al-Bukhari, by the way. Okay? But some places somebody said that I did zina. Oh, therefore, we have some rules. The heads and the rocks and the stones. Hold on, man. So the Prophet ﷺ, he was super easygoing, and so this knowledge of this revelation, someone should be intellectual. That's why he says, the blind person won't understand anything, meaning the non-spiritual or the one who is culturally spiritual and they don't want to sincerely, genuinely look into what it means to be a Muslim, a servant of God. Why should I do that, number one? And number one, what does that mean? And how do I relate to the world around me as a result of this? These are the major questions that should be asked. And so the prophetic model brings a balance to the extremes that we live in. There are extremes all around us at all times. There are many blacks and whites and, lights and darks and all of that stuff. You see it in the attitudes and the character of people. So, إِنَّمَا يَتَذَكَّرُ, the only one that will truly grasp this is ulul albab. Rational. So lub is the essence of something, the core of it. And so lub, even some linguists, they said labbaik. It means, I fully understand my servitude to you and I'm here for this. They're saying it comes from that. Even though from an Arabic morphology, the ya seems to come from labba, which would have a ya. But some scholars, they put it under this thing. So, ulul albab are intellectual people. How many of you have noticed that if you try to, in the Muslim world, because obviously your kids are giving you hell with this deal, about why, Baba, and why do we have to do this, you know what I'm talking about? But in the Muslim world, how many of you, and I want to see a show of hands, got the feeling like if you try to intellectualize with the Sheikh or Baba about the religion, they're going to get bothered and upset about that? Raise your hand if you feel like this is true. Somebody was like, okay, I was saying about half. Some people were like, I don't know, am I supposed to say that? I saw it. But alhamdulillah, I was blessed with some teachers who were very encouraging about that, who come from over there. They're following the Sunnah and they're tied into the Quran. But I feel like some people need to use religion as a means of control. We need to control you, keep the flock under, So then what did he describe? Who are these people? What's the first description? الَّذِينَ يُوفُونَ بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ. They are those who fulfill their covenant with God. Who knows the beginning of the covenant we have? What is it? It's found in Surah Al-A'raf. وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ. And remember, when God took the covenant from the children of Adam, all of them, all the people who would be born, have been created, and at the moment of their creation, all they will know in front of them is the light of their Creator. And that light of the Creator will communicate to them in a way that they understand, am I your Lord? And they will say, yes, you are our Lord. Because why? That's all they know. That's all they know. That's the essence of what we originally knew. That's the beginning of the covenant. And that's why 90 plus percentile of the history of man, everybody believes in a supreme being, and every language has a word that refers to creator slash supreme being, all powerful divine entity. God with a capital G. So, that's the first part. So then as we talked about Iman, that is to fulfill that through knowing revelation. So now, say somebody did not have access to revelation, they never were able to know it, and there was nothing that would facilitate their knowing. Can they be responsible for that part of their covenant? They cannot. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. If you didn't know about it, you're not accountable for it. So what are you accountable for? A basic morality you were born with. You'll be accountable for that. And on the Day of Judgment, there will be a very clear test given to you about that. But once you come to know Scripture and the Dala'il al-Nubuwah, the proofs of prophethood, the evidences for why that prophet truly is a prophet. What are the prophecies? The character of that person, the miracles that person performed, the revelation and how that fits and emphasizes what you know deep down in your heart. If you ask 1,000 people who converted to Islam in the West, in Europe and America, why did you convert to Islam? You're going to get 90 plus percentile. A main response will be, it makes a lot of sense. It makes much more sense than any other belief and action system of religion, theology. The other theologies have super confusing, strange ideas that seems to be invented by someone. Whereas this one seems to fit with what naturally makes sense of what it means to be a creation of God in a conscious moral awareness. And how that will pan out through my life and eternity. Right? So that's ulul albab. They will realize it and they will see it. So everybody has to embrace Islam at some point in their life. Genuinely. So then he says, وَلَا يَنْقُضُونَ الْمِيثَاقِ. What does that mean? Now once you know revelation, if you put your guard down and say, well, I can't keep up with my prayers, or, I don't have time for my parents, or, whatever it may be. You get comfortable with some sort of sinful lifestyle, or you know better, but you do otherwise. Well, I got to make money, so if I can do this business deal in a way, and good and well, this is against the Islam. So now you are breaking the covenant, knowing, which is fisq. Now, the sins that happen kind of like that, it just pops up and then you follow it and you're like, astaghfirullah. That's not what we're talking about. Those are the sins, minor sins, they're all washed away by just doing good deeds. But the lifestyle of serious major sins, knowing, you know what you're doing. You have now kind of broke your covenant with God in a way. Not that you're a disbeliever necessarily, but that your faith is weak. And now we have this movement. We're being brainwashed. Whatever people are saying as the modern Western understanding of things is the ultimate truth. So you need to fix your religion to fit in with that. Otherwise you're backward and barbaric, and why would you even think like that or do like that? The question I always ask when people put me in this circumstance is, number one, are you a prophet? Do we know of any prophets here in America? And they'll be like, no. Is Oprah a prophet? No, she's not. She's a big proponent of the, way of thinking. Democrats, Republicans, those don't know. For sure. There's no question about that. So why would I trust in their opinion and their general inclination when I have a prophet who did all the miracles? And the science of anthropology and archaeology of the history of what he left behind is very meticulously preserved. More than any other way of doing things in the history of mankind. So I'm going to rely upon that. Now, will I always understand it and will it always make sense to me? No. I am a human being born in a certain context, and I've been sociologically conditioned my whole life. And so I'm going to have to say that. So I'll do my best, but I will never say that can't be because everybody said so. Who are they? So that's what I am. وَالَّذِينَ يَصِلُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَن يُوصَلَ. Those who connect what was commanded to be connected. What does that mean? First and foremost, as we talked about, it's emphasizing the last verse. That you learn the Quran and live by it. That you love the Prophet and learn who he was and try to copy him as best as you can. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Be as good as you can. But after that comes who? What's the thing that should be connected and joined and held sacred after your knowledge and practice of the religion? What comes next? Mom and dad. This is the next thing that must be joined. Mom and dad. It comes in that order. Because it was through those two that you exist and you came up and you're still alive. They gave you everything. Now we're not going to get into all that controversial, what if, my dad went away and I never knew him, and then my mom was abusive my whole life. Let's not get into that. What we're saying is the generality of what most people have is parents who always cared for them and were concerned about them and all of that. And to the best of their ability, we're all human beings. Even with their flaws in generality, you can't take that away from them. You owe them everything. And then comes your closest family. Your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, your siblings, brothers and sisters, and your children. Some people, this the Quran emphasizes in many places. Be careful, don't let your wealth and your children send you astray. Because some people think children is like something, you say, oh, I have children, it's a fun thing, I have these kids. And they're not really deeply concerned about what happens to them. Like my kids are always arguing with me. Baba, they have all those things and phones and this and that, and they can do this and they just let them do that, and why can't? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Those people have their kids, and on the day of judgment they're going to be, and my knowledge of these things you want is dangerous. You can have fun in many ways. I'm encouraging you. Find many other ways. There was a time when kids lived very happy, fun lives, and there was no such thing as video games, iPads, and all that. I'm just saying. A cell phone is a very dangerous thing to a curious kid, male or female. Oh, I have a daughter, so no. Daughters is curious too. And they hear stuff, and they want to find out, and there's this guy that can teach you all these amazing, beautiful things, or can ruin your whole entire thought process in life. His name's Sheikh Google, the great sage, the oracle. You can't just give that to some kid unless you train them in it, and then you get them to a point where you feel comfortable that and you can't put kids in a bubble either. You have to introduce them to what they're going to deal with and explain that to them. So I'm like, okay, you want to watch this cartoon? We'll watch it. Pause. What if they just did like that? What do you think? Why should they do like that? Is there some other way we should be acting? Is that normal? What is normal? Who decides what is normal? You see? We have these discussions. So we're not going to try to hide them from the world, that they will eventually go right into it. Because the people who end up the worst, I'm not going to name names, but when I was in Oklahoma, I did not know what to think, because all I was told about is like Hajj, and there's the Kaaba and all the pictures, and that's what I know. So a brother came to me after I'd been Muslim for like a year. So I started going to the mosque all the time, and he was like, I need you to come visit me. I was like, okay. Really good brother, mashallah, from Saudi Arabia. He was like, okay, I'm going to bring some people to my house, and I want you to make da'wah to them. I'm not expecting to meet all these non-Muslims. So we go there, and there's a house of Saudi Arabian guys. And I'm like, you guys, this is your religion, you own the religion, man. This is the way I was thinking, And so we got to discussing. Turns out all these guys go to the clubs on the weekends, drinking and all that, girls and everything, all these different things, and drugs. And I was like, what? I was like, what? I was like that before. And he was like, but it's America. I was like, I know, it's America. It's not a good idea to go down that rabbit hole. Because you get lost in there and you'll never find your way back. So if you shelter somebody and act like nothing can be dealt with, and don't allow parents and scholars to be relevant and and balanced and interacting with the real world that you cannot escape from. You cannot live in a hole. The Prophet ﷺ says, the best of you, خَالَطَ النَّاسِ وَصَبْرَ عَلَى أَذَابٍ. Interacting with people, and they had an ultimate understanding of patience and perseverance in what could harm them. The Prophet ﷺ did not. وَرَهْبَانِيَّةً ابْتَدَعُوهَا مَا كَتَبْنَاهَا عَلَيْهِمْ. This monk thing where you go off in the hills and you don't, that's not our religion. It was never a religion. That's why you see all the problems coming from there. From people who do that. Because that's not the fitrah. That's not the way we're born. الَّذِينَ يَصِلُونَ مَا أَمْرَ اللَّهُ وَيَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُم. Oh no, يَصِلُونَ مَا أَمْرَ اللَّهُ. I didn't go to that. This goes deeper. So your family, now your neighbors. Your neighbors. You owe your neighbors. They're like family to you. Now ask yourself, am I knowing and having a relationship with my neighbors like family? We have a lot of work to do. It's very important to do this work. Your neighbors are people who you are by divine will connected to them, and they must feel that by your presence, that they know that you are a servant of the one and only God, and that you are a good, beneficial, positive influence in their environment. And they should never feel any annoyance or anything. Now, some of you are saying, yeah, but they look at me strange and I don't know him. And there's a language barrier. Shaitan whispers all kind of things to you about why you should not follow the religion. You can talk about people why they don't pray, why they do this, why they do that, why they do this. Everybody has, the shaitan has given them a script. See, look, come on, brother. No. That's why one of the characteristics of Jannah, we're going after, but it's the same stuff. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. It is those who say, God is my Lord. I am among those who worship God alone. And then they stay firm on the straight path. They're not going to just be like giving up and giving in because what people might think and all that. It's not, as long as you're not rude or disrespectful, as long as you just shine the light with a smile and you mean well and you do the prophetic thing, nobody will be offended. Nobody. Nobody will be like, what? You just come to your neighbor, what can I do, and all of that. MashaAllah, there was this brother in the snow just happened. He shoveled all of the driveways of the neighbors. MashaAllah. So they were like, what? Brother was like, man, they were asking me, like, what are you doing? Did you want money for this? No, I'm seeking God's contentment with me. I'm a servant of God. I'm a Muslim. And so I know that, it must be difficult for you to do this, and I have the means, so I'm going to take care of it for you. Same thing mowing the lawn. Mow the neighbor's lawn. Why not? What's the problem? And you know how you will completely control them? The food. We are the masters of food. We have the best stuff. I mean, if you're Indian, you gotta just tone it down a little bit. Hey, Dolly. We'll work them into it. They'll learn. They'll see that salt and peppers are equally beneficial. You need them. They're good for you. Actually, pepper's more than salt. It's a fact of science. I'm not just saying it because, So, يَصِلُونَ مَا أَمْرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ. Now as a citizen, what am I doing for society? We're the MCC. What are we doing? What is our Muslim community doing that people say, because of that Muslim community center, our city is a better place? That needs to be an answer we're ready to have answered by word, by virtue of deed, collectively. And it should be something like, your membership is جاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم عد الله لهم جنات. So we keep following this one. They struggle with their self, their time, and their wealth. You have to give money to the project so we can build and pay people to do full-time and part-time stuff. Then you have to go take your time and spend time for His cause. Coming to the prayer is not a goal. Salat al-Jama'ah is not a goal, it's a means. It's there to bring you together with other people in your spiritual family, so you get to know them, and then you start to work together about what we can do to make the world a better place, which is the ultimate goal. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Not إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُصَلِّي. I was not sent to pray salawat and read Quran. I was sent to give the best example of character. Rahmatan lil alameen. So that compassion, benevolence, altruistic concern for others is standardized because of this message. People will know it like that. So the prayers and the fasting and the reading Quran builds your knowledge and spirituality, so now when you come out, you will have the fortitude and the steadfastness and the comfort to do these things. And then when people ask you about why, you'll have all kinds of beautiful answers as to why. So that's الذين يصلون ما أمر الله. What time is it?
It is 10 minutes.
Yeah. We'll conclude with this ayah. وَيَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ. What does that mean? يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ. They're in awe of their Lord. They have deep reverence for their Lord. Many of the scholars like to treat khashya and khawf as muradif. That it is a synonym. Assalamu alaikum. But there is a nuance, a difference between the two. Khawf is like something you're scared of because it could harm you. That's khawf, fear. This thing's going to hurt me. Khashya, you're in awe and kind of like trembling because of how amazing it is, how great it is. You see the difference? It's called awe, where we get the term awesome. God is awesome. Literally, that's one of his asma in English. Somebody said, what is it? It's what he is. So, يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ. Because they learn of all of his qualities and characteristics and perfection and purity, they're like, Subhanallah. يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ. They're in awe of him. They're in reverence to him. Which leads to something called hayat. They have a certain sense of shyness and shamefulness. What God might think if I do this? Even if they don't know ayah hadith. Their fitrah is very, very carefully concerned. What if I did that? What if I watch this? What if I listen to that? What if I hang out with these people? Even if you didn't really know too much detail, you're like concerned because of khashya. وَيَخَافُونَ سُوءَ الْحِسَابِ. What do they fear? I'm telling you, people get mad when I say this. I don't believe we fear Allah. Someone says, what did he just say? That is like blasphemy. I'm telling you, we are fearing maqama rabbina. We are fearing standing in front of him. We are fearing the accountability we have for our actions. In essence, we should be fearing our actions because we know it's not pleasing to him. He doesn't want us to go to hell. He's not out for us. He's not trying to destroy us. We've asked to be created and to have some sort of authority. It's mentioned in Surah Al-Ahzab and from the surah before, at the end of Surah Al-Ahzab. We asked for it. So I didn't ask for it. Yes, you did. That's why you're here. Now, would you rather not be here? Some brother said one time when I said this, he said, I wish I wasn't here. I was like, we need to talk to a psychologist or psychiatrist or something, because that's considered not healthy, normal thought process for a human being. That is a depression, which is a clinical imbalance of chemicals in the brain. That's why people kill themselves. Other than that, everybody's like, want to be alive, and they're like trying to do everything they can not to die. And they don't even believe in God. They're like, I got to be really healthy and go work out at the gym a lot. Why? Because I don't want to die, man. I want to live a long life. That's human nature. We're accountable for that. وَخَافُونَ سُوءَ الْحِسَابِ. The people of heaven are those that are fearing, if I die today or tomorrow, I'm accountable for everything that I've been doing and what I have not been doing, that I should have been doing. I'm accountable for all that. I have a spiritual worth, and like you look at your bank account and there's that one, and you're like, okay, what do I need to do? How do I collect more? And then whenever it gets low, you're like, oh my God, how are you like? When the thing is low, you had all these bills, something happened, the car got destroyed, whatever. Now you're like, what am I going to do? And like, the believer's like, oh my God, I didn't do this many things, I didn't do this many prayers, I didn't, go feed the homeless shelter, I didn't, whatever it is, I didn't seek knowledge, I didn't go to the mosque, I haven't, worked on my spirituality, I didn't solve my problem with anger or whatever. You should be deeply concerned about these things. Like, oh my God, what's happening to me? My value is low. I'm about bankrupt here. So I think we'll stop here for time.